I'm here today to do another stupid challenge. A little bit ago, I did a challenge in which I made a friendship bracelet in thick gloves. I'll leave that video linked in the card and in the description for you to watch if you want to. And today I'm doing another one that is arguably even more dumb. I'm going to try to make a friendship bracelet with no thumbs. I'm gonna tape my thumbs to my hands and just use my fingers. So join me on this stupid quest and see how successful I'm gonna be. I'm not gonna be making a full bracelet like I did last time. It's more so just like a proof of concept to see if I can do it, and we'll go from there. I'm gonna be using these 3 strings as well, just because I have a lot of them and I'm not too sad about wasting them on stupid projects. So I guess let's tape my thumbs down. Oh my god. I don't know how much I'm gonna need for this. Also, taping down my second hand is probably gonna be a challenge in itself. I did not really think this through because this just looks dumb. So stupid. Hey! Alright, I guess the challenge is starting now to see how well I can do this. Why is tearing so difficult? Okay, I've got scissors. There we go. This feels stupid already. Let's see how it goes. So I'm gonna try and make a chevron as well, just like I did last time. And I guess just like I did last time, I'm going to try and do a loop. Because why? Why don't I make things harder for myself? Do you know what? This is actually not that uncomfortable. I thought it would be worse. So cutting the strings is actually fine. What I anticipate having some difficulty with is actually making the knots, because I use my thumbs when I'm making my knots quite a lot. I use my thumbs to help separate the strings. Okay, this is not fun. I use my thumbs to help separate the strings from each other when I'm tying the knots together. So I anticipate having some difficulty there, but this part, probably gonna be easy if I can actually get a hold of the string. There we go. Now to make the loop, my favorite part. I want to make an overhand knot. And usually, like a lot of this, why I anticipate this being a problem and why I kind of already am having difficulties is a lot of making knots is muscle memory. So I need to like actively think about what I'm doing. But that was actually successful. Look at me. Now to tie it up a little bit high. Okay, I'm actually trying to use my thumb there. Okay, you know what? It's just gonna be a big loop and we are just going to accept that because I'm not changing that. That's just gonna be what it is. And now I have to rearrange my entire camera setup. I did not consider that. I'm gonna have to untie myself and then retie myself. All right, we've got a completely new setup here. We've got a dual cam rolling. Time to retape. I'm gonna try and use the same pieces of tape and then if they're not sticky enough, I guess I'll retape, but I kind of don't want to waste this tape. I think this should be good. Very awkward thing to do in general. This is generally very awkward, but I think we've got it. And now I need to cut off even more tape to actually tape this down. Oh, there we go. I'll use this. I like to put a piece of string through my loops. That way I have sort of more space to work with to actually tape it to my workspace. So instead of just having that loop here, I now actually have sort of more surface area to tape it down. And let's actually use scissors this time instead of trying to just rip it off, because that was not successful. Oh god, this is not comfortable, I must say. And a second piece. Alright, that's not even or pretty, but it'll work. Let's actually try to make a bracelet. Alright, separating the strings was not too hard. I'm gonna start on this side because I typically find forward knots easier than backward knots. I usually would separate the strings in my fingers like so. Maybe this is still something that I could do. This is not easy. Okay. Alright. There we go. I did that. Alright, maybe I can do this. Alright. Maybe this isn't gonna be too hard. Suddenly I have newfound confidence in myself. Do you know what? That actually isn't difficult. I'm just having to use like a different finger. That wasn't hard. That genuinely wasn't hard. I thought it was going to be much more difficult. Let's try the other side. I must say, it's not comfortable, right? But it's also not as difficult as I thought it would be. Like, I'm having to use 2 fingers to pull it up instead of a finger and a thumb. And I'm having to use like weird combinations of fingers to separate my strings so that I can actually make the knot. Whereas typically I would just use my thumb and my index finger. Like the strings in the right hand are kind of, you know, being used with the pinky finger. The strings in the left hand are being used with the pinky finger. It's not comfortable. I also forgot if that was just the first half or the second half. I think that was the first half. It's not comfortable at all, but it is doable. I'm actually kind of surprised. I didn't think it was going to be this easy. Having to use my pinky to pull it up though, I'm not loving that. All right, let's see how much I can make without... Did I make it in a completely different order? I did. I made it in a different order. Yay. Look at me telling you all about how easy this is and how, you know, I'm not having that difficult of a time, but then I completely forgot to actually make note of what strings I was using. Do you know what? I'm gonna do something sneaky. Normally, I would untie this, but I'm not actually planning on continuing this bracelet in a reasonable fashion or at all, really. So I'm just gonna do something sneaky and I'm just gonna like pretend that they were in the correct order. Yeah, just switch the strings and pretend that that was how it was supposed to be. And you are gonna pretend like you didn't see that. Because, oops. This does work. You know, if you ever encounter that yourself, it does work, though I wouldn't recommend doing that. Like, if you can untie a bracelet to make it look normal, then just untie it, because that, like, it kind of works, but it then results in a weird bump, and your strings aren't going to be, like, your knots aren't going to be particularly even. But I don't care about this bracelet, so I don't mind. But yeah, look, even separating the strings, like, my main issue with the gloves challenge was that separating the strings was difficult because of the gloves. And in general, my dexterity wasn't as good. My dexterity with this is fine. Like, I'm, you know, unable to use my thumbs. So obviously, muscle memory-wise, I'm not doing so good because what normally would come easy to me isn't. But in terms of actually making the knots, it's not that much different. I thought it was going to be significantly more challenging than it is. This is fine. I could do this easy. It's not particularly great, and it's also taking me like 10 times longer than it normally would. But it's fine, look at me go. See, I've done 2 rows in no time. Let's make a 3rd row. Maybe I can even just do it with one. Like normally, instead of doing sort of the exaggerated way that I teach with this whole like 4 shape over and then looping your string through, looping your finger through rather, I normally just kind of use, like I separate the string with my thumb and my index finger, and then I use my index finger to do the whole thing. But maybe I don't even need my thumb. Maybe I can just do it without. Says I, and then proceeds to reach to do it with the way that I would teach. Yeah, like I would kind of do this, and then, yeah, no, it's not. Oh, you know, maybe it is fine. Yeah, do you know what? It's not, like, it's not pleasant, and you do occasionally struggle. But overall, it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. This is fine. This is fine. I even did a backward knot for the center. I usually do forward knots there, just because I like them more. Yeah, see, I kind of switched those strings there. It doesn't look good. We're gonna pretend that that didn't happen, because that was an oopsie. But you know what? I'd call this a success. I'd call this more of a success than I even expected it to be. This was fine. I could totally make a full bracelet like this. I would be miserable and I would hate it, but I could. I don't think the knots are particularly good in terms of tension. With this one and with the previous challenge that I did as well. Yeah, you can see that with both of these. Oh, I actually did it in the same order. I didn't even notice that. That was completely accidental. But yeah, you can see that the knot tension isn't great. Like, it's very springy, which isn't necessarily bad, but I typically don't do that. It kind of tends to leave holes in the bracelet sometimes. But overall, this was fine. Well, I'm gonna call this challenge a success, and now I'm going to take these off because they are very annoying and just generally unpleasant. That feels good. Oh, that feels really good. That felt good to get rid of these. Well, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's stupid challenge. Let me know if you have any other stupid challenge ideas because I'm finding these quite fun to film and it seems like you guys are enjoying them as well. I have a couple more thoughts. I've got tape stuck to my nails now. I've got a couple more thoughts on challenges that I could do, but I would love to hear yours as well. And before I go, I want to remind you that my book, The Beginner's Guide to French Bracelets, is now out worldwide. This is a collection of photo tutorials aimed at beginners that goes into the advanced stuff as well. It's available for purchase anywhere you typically buy books, but there is also a direct link in the description if you want to use that. And before I go, I also want to give a special shout out to my patrons and especially my top supporters, as it is with their support that I'm able to do these videos on my channel. Usually they're not this stupid, and a lot of the times they're educational, but nevertheless I appreciate their support. If you also want to become a patron and support the work that I do on this channel, the link to that is in the description. But in any case, I really hope you enjoyed today's video and I will see you in my next one. Bye!